A lot of influence in the area. I'm going to ask Dennis Miller about that coming up. But that's why we are looking at stars who have endured. Tonight, Elvis Presley, who made 31 movies, most of them bad. Film professor Richard Walter explained why.
You're a pretty fancy performer, ain't you, kid?
Now you know what I do for an encore.
Elvis Presley made 31 movies, and here you have a guy who starts off, he makes some movies, he's good in the movies.
What are you going to do with all that money?
I'm going to buy me a herd of chorus girls and make them dance on my bed.
He could have been Marlon Brando.
I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody.
Now, Brando made a lot of movies, but then Presley comes back from the Army, and yeah, okay, he's taking a little drugs in this, but he wasn't out of control. All the directors say that on the set, Elvis Presley was professional, he was lucid.
Going swimming.
He wasn't causing trouble. He wasn't, Janis Joplin out there, a complete mess.
Work. She's jealous.
She should be.
Yet he allowed his manager, I guess, Colonel Parker, to get him into movies that were just garbage.
I used to think a lot about this place. I was afraid it might change. But it's still beautiful.
He starts off as a kid with good movies.
Well, I went to the bayou just last night.
Then he comes back from the Army into bad movies. He didn't have to do it. Why did he do it?
Drugs happened. The Army corrupted him, really. In that era, the Army used to give out amphetamines, pep pills to the soldiers. He was not the same Elvis when he came out of the Army, his service in Germany, as he was when he went in. King Creole, which I think is one of his best movies.
Yep.
I mean, you're a swell girl, and I don't want to hurt you.
Brando was supposed to star in it. And somehow or other, as happens in Hollywood, Brando fell out of the picture and because of scheduling difficulties or whatever. And so they cast Elvis, and of course that changed the whole movie. It became instead a musical.
You're the only one who can make my young dreams come true.
So your thesis is that Presley got into the Army, started taking amphetamines, came back, wasn't clear-headed anymore, fell under the sway of this Colonel Parker, his manager, made a series of films to sell albums, was successful, they made money, he's making money. But it looks to me like it all fell apart in those years for him.
The feel of love is wild.
He was this very gregarious and friendly guy on the surface, it appeared, but really very isolated and very lonely.
I thought this was going to be strictly business.
Oh, I mean business.
Even aside from the drugs, it's hard to deal with the kind of success that Elvis Presley had.
Absolutely.
I mean, can you imagine?
You can't go anywhere, especially when you wear the purple cape and the big belt.
Lord Almighty, I feel my temperature rising.
I always say,
Right.
if he had put a little hat on and gone out, he might, but you put the cape on and right away people know. Okay, now, I look at him as the best entertainer that I've ever seen.
There's a one for the money, two for the show. Three, get ready, now go, can't go.
That he had to be a shrewd guy to be able to do what he did.
One threw a party in the county jail. The prison band was there, they began to wail.
Was he a smart guy?
I don't think he was really a smart guy. I don't think he's ever been accused of being a heavy reader, a really, really heavy thinker. His career kind of unfolded based on his amazing talent, and he is an amazingly talented figure. What a voice.
Love me tender, love me true.
As his fame increased and as his life became more routinized, with everybody kind of sucking up to him and being recognized everywhere, you start to need that kind of thing. You start to feed on it, and if it makes you crazy. It's not unusual that somebody who gets that kind of attention.
No, he lost control of the process, as many people have done. Was there one film that he was most proud of or that he liked?
The earlier films were the ones that were more meaningful, and after that, he was kind of really just going through the motions.
Right.
Okay, drinks on me.
But there was one thing in his career that everybody says elevated him in these junkie movies, and that was Viva Las Vegas with Anne Margaret.
Viva Las Vegas.
There seemed to be something more going on in that film than in the others.
Can we help you? Yes, ma'am.
Well, then I'd like you to check my motor. It whistles.
I don't blame it.
It really did engage in a way that many of the others just failed
And
to do.
he had that thing with Anne Margaret. There was obviously chemistry there.
The lady's dying to be kissed.
The gentleman needs a psychiatrist.
He was was Elvis Presley known as a romancer of his co-stars, was he not?
He was, but you know, was the impression I have from the reading that I've done and from the people I've spoken to, it was more, you know, a token kind of relationship. What he really wanted to do was stay up late, hang out with his pals, clown around, joke around, and do very, very trivial, inconsequential kind of superficial activities. It's sad in a way. It's the way he dealt with his gigantic celebrity, his huge success.
Doctor, thanks very much. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has left the building.
Nobody better.